Good day, everyone. I welcome you all to another episode of Simplified Chemistry with Gido Academy. And in this particular video, we're talking about empirical formula and molecular formula. This is a question that often come out in Waec and Jamb examination. Most especially Jamb examination. And in this particular video, we are going to simplify this so that in case if any of these questions pop up in your exam, you know the right approach to answer it. An empirical formula of a compound only gives the whole number ratio of the component elements. Emphasis on the whole number ratio of the component element. While the molecular formula of a compound gives the exact number of mole of atom of the component element in 1 mole of the compound. Like what I will always tell my students, if you look at C2H6, which is an 18, the simplest value of this compound, here if you divide it will give us 1, if you divide this will give us what? Will give us 3. That's if you divide this by 2. So the answer is C1H3, which is same thing as what? CH3. So this CH3 is the empirical formula or the empirical formula, while the C2H6 is what? Is the molecular formula. So the simplest formula of a compound that is written in a whole number ratio is called what? The empirical formula. While the molecular formula of a compound gives the exact number of mole of atom of the component element in 1 mole of that compound. So let's quickly solve some of the calculations we have here. But before you can calculate the molecular formula or the empirical formula of a compound, which is for you to calculate this molecular formula, there is need for you to know the empirical formula of the compound. And there are some things you need to know. The molecular mass of the constituent element, the smallest unit or the smallest value of those elements, and then you must approximate the smallest value to a whole number. Let's start. If you look at the question 1, it says determine the empirical formula of oxide of nitrogen. Oxide of nitrogen means nitrogen oxide, but we have different kind of oxide. So which of them are we talking about? But there is one thing I want you to take note of. We have nitrogen and what? And oxygen. So here you write your nitrogen, then here you write your what? Your oxygen. Then it said containing 70% of oxygen. So oxygen here is 70%. If the relative molecular mass of the compound is 92, deduce the molecular formula. We don't know the percentage for nitrogen, but we already know that the element there are 2, and nitrogen plus oxygen must be equal to 100%. If here is 70%, then 100 minus 70 will give us what? 30%. So oxygen is 70, while nitrogen is what? Is 30. The next thing is that what is the relative molecular mass of the element? Nitrogen is 14, oxygen is 16. So you punch your calculator, you press 30 divided by 14, we have 2.14, then 70 divided by 16, 70 divided by 16, you have 4.38. So looking at this, which of the value is smaller? Which of the value is smaller? Is it 2.14 or 4.38? 2.14 is smaller than 4.38. So here will be 2.14. Here will be 2.14. 2.14 divided by 2.14, we have approximately 1. Then here you have approximately 2. Therefore, the empirical formula of this is 1:2. The empirical formula of the compound will be N1O2. That is the same thing as NO2. That is the empirical formula. But for us to calculate the molecular formula, it is usually the empirical formula of the compound times N is equals to the relative molecular mass. And the relative molecular mass of the compound is what? Is 92. So here is 92. Then nitrogen here is 14 plus oxygen is 16. How many oxygen do you have here? Is 2. So times 2, everything N is equals to 92. Then you come again, 14 plus 32, because 16 times 2 will give us 32. N is equals to 92. So 16 plus 2, we have 46N is equals to what? 92. The next thing you have to do, divide both sides by 46. So I will have 92 divided by 46, our answer is what? Is 2. Therefore, the value of n is equals to 2. Now, if you have 2 as your answer, the next thing you are expected to do is use this your 2 to multiply the empirical formula. So we have N1O2. Here is 2 here. 2 times 1 will give us N2. 2 times 2 will give us what? O4. So the empirical formula of the compound is N1O2. But the molecular formula is N2O4. Like what I always tell you, if they give you the molecular formula, it is very, very easy for you to detect the empirical formula. So I will just, if for example, the molecular formula of the compound is given to me as CH6H12O6. This is the empirical formula, molecular formula. What is the empirical formula? The lowest term I can use, so the highest term or whatever I can use to divide through is 6. If I divide here by 6, by 6 by 6, so we have 6 divided by 6, we are left with 1. Here will give us 12 divided by 6, we are left with 2. Then O will give us what? 1, which is CH2O. So that is how you calculate the empirical formula of a compound. Now, if you look at the second question here, it says, find the empirical formula of a compound on analysis that yield the following as their reactive masses. So let me quickly clean this. You can pause the video so that you can easily get, in case you have not written what I'm cleaning. Now, if you look at this, find the empirical formula of a compound which on analysis yields the following reactive mass. We have carbon. The carbon is 2.0 gram. We have hydrogen. Hydrogen is 0.34 gram. Then we have oxygen, which is 2.67 gram. As usual, let's divide it by the molecular mass. Here is 12, here is 1, and here is what? 16. So if you divide 2.0 divided by 12, we are left with 0.16. Let's just approximate to 0.17. Here is going to give us 0.34. Then here is going to give us 0.17. So if these are the three values, which of the values is smallest? We have 0.17 there as the smallest. So here will be 0.17, 0.17, 0.17. So this cancel out, we are left with 1. This go, we are left with 2. And this go, we are left with what? 1. So we have C1, H2, O1. Because carbon here is 1, the ratio here is 2, the ratio there is what? Is 1. But they said, from the result, find the molecular formula of the compound if the vapor density is 30. Where, like what I told you earlier, we are calculating for the relative molecular mass. But in this case, relative molecular mass was not given. They gave us the vapor density. So what you have to do, the empirical formula of the compound times N is equal to the what? The relative molecular mass. But the relative molecular mass is not given. But I told you in our previous video that relative molecular mass is equal to 2 times the vapor density. So as usual, carbon is 12 plus hydrogen is 1 times. How many hydrogen do you have here? You have 2 plus what? 16. Everything times N is equal to 2 times the vapor density. The vapor density was as well given to us as what? 30. If the vapor density is 30. So here will be 30. Here will be 12 plus 2 plus 16. Everything N is equal to what? 30. 2 times 30 will give us 60. Then 12 plus 2 plus 16, we are going to have what? 30N. So let's divide through by 30. This will cancel this. We are left with N. 0 cancels if we go. We are left with what? With 2. This is the value for N. So use this value to multiply what you have here. So let's change it to 2. 2 times 1, we have C2. 2 times 2, we have hydrogen is 4. Then 2 times 1, we have what? Oxygen is what? Is 2. This can as well be written as CH3COOH. How many carbon do you have here? Is 2. How many hydrogen do you have here? Is 4. How many oxygen do you have here? Is 2. And this is called ethanoic acid. So the end product for this very reaction is going to give us what? Ethanoic acid. But if Jamb those who want to stress it, they will give you this kind of question, which is number 3. Find the molecular formula. They have already given us the empirical formula. And the vapor density is 30. So if you have CH2, let me increase the vapor density to 60. So if you have CH2O as the Empirical formula times N is equals to 2 times the vapor density, which is 60. 2 times 60, we are going to have what? 120. Then here we have already calculated here, carbon is 12, hydrogen is 1 times 2, plus oxygen is 16, which is going to give us what? 30N. Then let's divide both sides by 30. 0 cancel this go, we are left with what? With 4. So the value of N is 4. Then C4, H here will be 2 times 4, which is 8. O what? O4. So that's how you easily calculate the empirical formula of the compound and then the molecular formula of the compound. If you find this video helpful, why not smash the subscription button? Share the video to your friends, those who are writing Waec and SSC exam, including Jamb. If you really want to score 90 plus in your chemistry for your Waec and Jamb exam, then Gido Academy is here for you. In case you are just seeing this video from any other place, know that you have to search for Simplified Chemistry for Waec and Jamb exam. A playlist will pop up whereby you are going to see all my videos from the beginning of the chemistry textbook to the end of the chemistry textbook. See you in our next episode. If you have any questions based on what I've explained so far, drop that in the comment section. I will be waiting for you there. For now, goodbye.